The redistricting wars are on as Texas and California move one step closer to redrawing their maps. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the arena. Casey Hunt is off. I'm Dana Bash. Right now in Austin, Texas state legislators are on the brink of passing a Republican bill that would redraw maps to make 5 Democratic congressional districts lean heavily Republican. The bill is all but certain to pass, and the state Senate could vote as soon as tomorrow. This follows a series of ultimately futile stalling tactics by state Democrats who left the state for weeks in protest.
You're not going to like this, but for 18 days, things could have happened. You all chose to walk out. To me, you damaged the process. You kept people away. You kept work from being done. Don't use that as an excuse to belabor this bill.
The creation of 5 new deep red districts is a major gift to President Trump, one he asked for, as he hopes to hold on to both chambers of the U.S. Congress in 2026 in the midterm elections. Texas is likely just the beginning of this fight as other states look to redraw their own maps. The next battleground is California. In fact, this afternoon, a state assembly committee advanced a bill allowing voters to decide whether to adopt a new congressional map that would create 5 new Democratic districts. Republicans filed a lawsuit to try to prevent that from happening. California Democrats, though, argue that they're just trying to play by Texas's new rules.
Let's also be very clear. The person who drew this map is the authoritarian in the White House who called for destruction of the foundations of our democracy by clawing back 5 seats that don't belong to him in Texas and forcing the people of California to respond. The people of California will draw this map on November when they have their voice heard.
And this just into CNN, Barack Obama says he approves of the approach that California Democrats, led by Governor Gavin Newsom, are taking on redistricting. He spoke last night at a Democratic event, and the former president said, quote, "I'd love to see the people of Texas reject what's happening, but it doesn't look like, unlike in California, they're being given the option of deciding whether this is a smart thing to do or not," end quote. My panel is here, along with CNN correspondent Arlette Saenz, who is live inside the Texas state capitol in Austin. Arlette, bring us up to speed. What's happening right now on the floor?
Well, Dana, right now we are hearing lawmakers speak out in support and in opposition to this redistricting bill, which appears is on its way to passage potentially from both chambers in the coming days. Now, Texas House lawmakers have been in the House chamber just down the hall from where we are for about 5 hours now considering this bill. Democrats introduced a number of amendments. None of them were eventually adopted, and now they are moving on to the floor speech part of this day. But there have certainly been a number of tense moments between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans frustrated about that 15-day standoff that Democrats had taken to block this bill, while Republicans have tried to argue why this map should not be passed, saying that it could disempower Black and Latino voters. They are preparing some of the legal arguments that they will make when lawsuits are filed in the coming weeks and months. But here was one of those tense exchanges between a Democratic and Republican lawmaker during the amendment process earlier today.
But what I don't respect is an obvious racist move on what we're trying, what you're attempting to do. But
we disagree 100%.
When you lose 2 African-American leaning seats, then that tells you there is a race issue going on.
And Rucho gave the exact same argument
Rucho.
What I would make fun of the U.S. Supreme Court, Representative. I don't think that's right. Let's not demean the process.
Now, lawmakers are currently continuing that debate with speeches. It's expected that the House will need to vote 2 times before they can pass this bill. Then it would need to go over to the Senate, which is set to meet tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central Time. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has said that he could sign this bill in a matter of days, potentially by the end of the week, as Republicans are moving closer and closer to making this map that could net the GOP up to 5 U.S. House seats in next midterm elections closer to reality.
Arlette, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And my panel joins me now in the arena, CNN political analyst and investigative reporter for The New York Times, David Fahrenthold, CNN political commentator and former Trump White House communications director, Alyssa Farah Griffin, CNN global affairs commentator, Sabrina Singh, also a former press secretary for lots of presidential candidates, including Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, and also the one and only Shermichael Singleton.
I love that, the one and only. Thank you, Dana.
Do you know other Shermichael
I
Singleton?
do not, but I will take that.
Okay, not needless to say, you are a Republican commentator for CNN. I do want to start with kind of the big picture of this as we head into these series of votes in Texas and likely later today in California. Alyssa, I'll start with you. You've seen a lot, both working in the House as an aide, working in the Trump White House, working in politics for a long time. We saw Tom DeLay do a version of this back before you were born, but this is so brazen, and it did start with Donald Trump and likely his political director.
Listen, this is more brazen than usual, but partisan gerrymandering is much like dark money in politics. Everyone agrees it's bad for democracy. It's probably not a good thing, but both sides still move forward and do it. I'm old enough to remember when my friend Adam Kinzinger's district was written out of Illinois. Democrats did not throw him a bone. They threw him into Darren LaHood's district, and he no longer had a seat to run in. So I think that's kind of what you're seeing, where California is basically responding in kind by acting similarly. And the reality is, Texas has the legal right to do this. We don't decide these things at the federal level. They are decided within the state. But I think the fact that there's this push now is because the midterms are coming up. And listen, Republicans have a razor-thin majority. I actually don't think that they're on par right now to get absolutely swept if you look at Democrats' unfavorability. But this is a boost that they need. A few extra seats is exactly what they would need to keep control of the House.
To me, what's interesting about this is the Democrats, the way that they're fighting this in Texas, and it's appeals to rules. You know, we're going to sue in the courts. You're doing this the wrong way. It's not an appeal to the public.
But isn't that because, oh, go ahead.
I think that's what's really interesting. This is a challenge for them, but as Alyssa said, it's legal. This is also an opportunity for them to go out to their own voters and say, look, Donald Trump's stealing your votes. He's taking away your chance to vote for the things you want, things that are going to help you. And there's none of that I'm seeing of actually trying to build support in Texas, because these are going to be razor-thin seats. They could win if they build that sort of support. Instead, it's all sort of inside baseball.
So the Democratic lawmakers, state lawmakers, argue that the reason they left isn't because they thought they could actually stop the vote. Ultimately, it is to get attention. And as we're talking about this, I just want to put up on the screen in Texas what we're talking about. To be specific, the current districts. Of course, this is a very red state already, so it's slim pickings to even find, even though they can probably do more, find Democratic seats. But you see what it is currently and then what the proposed districts are.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing here is a power grab by Texas and the Texas governor to exactly what Alyssa said, to increase the House majority because they have such a razor-thin majority right now. And what you're also seeing in California is Democrats willing to fight back. And I think this is exactly the fight that is going to galvanize not only the base, but we are fighting fire with fire now. And I think that is a good thing. And you're seeing that not just in California, but you're potentially seeing that with other Democratic governors that could look at the maps and redraw seats. At the end of the day, we're ratcheting up the tensions. And this is something that you really don't want to see. And I think to Alyssa's point, you know, dark money being in politics, these hyper political gerrymandering, it's not good, but we also can't go down without a fight.
I want to read more of what former President Obama said last night when he was at a fundraiser. He said, quote, "I've had to wrestle with my preference, which would be that we don't have political gerrymandering. But what I also know is that we don't respond effectively. If we don't respond effectively, then this White House and Republican-controlled state governments all across the country, they will not stop because they do not appear to believe in this idea of an inclusive, expansive democracy."